Welcome back to a fresh episode of Missing Curfew. Our All-Star weekend continues. Thanks to all the All-Stars. Last week, Mike Richards, what an absolute beauty. Lots of comments coming back from the Philadelphia fans of how such a great captain he was, a warrior. It was great to see Richie doing well with life after hockey. So Kelly Chase next here. Chaser's an absolute beauty. His stories, you're going to love his stories coming at you here. He's got some good ones near the end. So Kelly Chase coming at you from the Rock Bar in Fort Lauderdale. Fella. Up dog, All-Star Weekend continues here. The legend. Kelly Chase.
Handsome. Where do they get all the good looks from?
Right here, boys. Yeah.
Looking good, buddy.
I grew the hair back, boys.
I like it.
Yeah. It was.
You can still go no bucket out there.
Oh, it'd be flowing right now. Warm up for sure.
Are you always been a goatee guy? Were you a beard guy when you played?
No, I wasn't a beard guy. One of the lockouts, I was a beard guy, and then I went back and did all the things I wanted to do when I was playing. Like hunting season, so elk hunting and ice fishing, snowmobiling, downhill skiing. Had the beard for all of it, and then.
Your Sasky came out. This is the Saskatoon, the Sasky guy in you.
Enough of this shit. Let's go back and get paid.
I never met too many bad guys from Saskatchewan, Chase, so I got to tell you, every guy I played with played the right way. I like to have fun, and we're good team guys.
Yeah, you know what? I grew up in an environment of really, really good guys and actually really hard workers that played, I guess what you would say, the right way, the way that you played it.
Yeah.
And, Barry Melrose was kind of our leader. To be honest with you, he was older than us, and there was guy Lloyd Grunsdahl, guys before him, and Glenn Hall married a girl from there, and so you had all these older guys. But then Barry Melrose was the first guy from an era where I could start playing youth hockey and look up to somebody. And then he comes home with a new half-ton truck from Cincinnati. And one of the Cincinnati Stinger cheerleaders. You're like, holy fuck.
What a name, the Cincinnati Stingers.
If this guy can have that, I gotta play in the NHL. So he was unreal. The work ethic Barry had was unbelievable. Like before, guys were lifting weights and running because Barry was a bigger, slower defenseman, and he just worked his ass off. They lived out of town, so you'd see all of this, and then you worked at his hockey school, and you had Joey Kosher from there, and Wendell was from and Wendell was first pick overall. So, and we all played on a ball team together, which TSN did a nice little feature. I think it's called The Toughest Team There Ever Was. And it was all hockey players on the team, 2 farmers. And so we played fast pitch softball like we played hockey. So if we were around in a base path and you happen to be in a lane, you're going over.
You're brushing a guy off the plate.
It was so good. And the feature that they did on TSN, I think Mike Blosky, the goalie that was from there, was Philadelphia product and was my cousin. He was on the team. And he said, that wasn't a ball team. That was a fucking work release program.
I was just thinking of the teams when the schedule came out.
Killer Kaminsky.
Professional drinkers.
Killer Kaminsky, Wendell Clark. Couple of Koshers. 4 of the Clark boys. 2 Melroses. Trent Yanni. Killer Kaminsky. Yeah, we didn't miss much, man. It was fun.
Yeah, who was this is probably a tough question, but who was the toughest guy? And you're like, when you look back and you're like, who was the guy that you're like, was it Proby or who was it? Like, when you're like,
everyone Twister says that. Yeah, Twister is tough, man. Twister and I fought a few times. Well, we fought at practice a couple times, but we fought in a game when he came back. And it was more of Keenan sent him out to do it, all the chicken shit stuff that Keenan would never do. So he sent Twister out, and Twister was living in my house with his family, his wife and kids. And he asked me he goes, hey, he sent me out here. You got to settle down. And he had already kind of got Mark Jansen with a good one and broke his orbital in the game. And I said, Twister, I'm not in the mood for this right now. And I was running at Murray Barron. And I go, you don't think the big guy can take care of himself? And he goes, he kind of came to me, he goes, I'm being serious. I said, I just cross-checked Twister in the shoulder or in the arm. And I said, do you want to just get this over with? He goes, are you serious? Because we grew up together. We played in Saskatoon together.
Yeah.
He was born in Saskatoon. His dad was the RCMP in Kelvington, where we're from, and then got transferred. So Twister and I have had a long history, and of course we played in Peoria together, we played in St. Louis together, played in Saskatoon with the Blades together. And he goes, and he's living in my house with his kids. And he says, I said, let's just get it over with. So we fight, right? And I actually got I've seen this fight 1,000 times since people asked me. And I looked down at the end of it. When I knocked him down, I should have jumped on him. And the fight would have been. But the bad part about that is now he's got 15 minutes on the other side over there. Because now it's going to be best of 7. So I let him up. And that's when he got out of his jersey. And then you have no chance.
That was supposed to be the worst.
Yeah, but when you ask me the toughest guy, I will tell you that I think the most dangerous guy that I ever played against was Kosher.
Yeah.
Like, and people talk about Bobby all the time. And I don't take anything away from Bobby Probert because he was tough.
Yeah.
But it's hard-pressed to find a fight where he really hurt somebody. Whereas if you Google Joe Kosher or Dave Brown,
Brownie
and Twister,
Semenko.
It's not. You don't have to go very far to see where they hurt somebody.
Fight two on the
Right?
YouTube
like
channel.
honestly, like it's like.
Fucking Dave Brown's hands, boys. Are
And now there's a guy too. Like if he lost, he didn't sleep till he got you back. Okay, so. I mean,
He's looking at the schedule. He's like, I got chased for 3 weeks.
Hey, dude, that's a fact. You know, Stu Grimson got him in his first game up. And he didn't sleep. He got Stu so bad. Stu will tell you it's the worst beating he's ever gotten in his life. He just caved in his face. They put screws and metal plates and everything, pulled his bone out. Jesus. And I mean, Brownie didn't sleep till he got you. So if Joey hit you, I would say Kosher, Brown, twist, mix them up, pull out of a hat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then again, you know, there were smaller guys that were, for me, I had trouble fighting the mid-heavyweight guys. Wendell
Talk was a killer.
Wendell, like you get him with Wendell. He's not making it. You know, they don't sit around and go, "Geez, I wonder
He's
if
not
he's
going to ask
going
any
to fight."
questions.
You know, you're already
He's going.
You're in third place before you even know you're in one. Sometimes, right? So fuck, he was tough. I mean, there was a lot of guys like that. They just went and it was unbelievable.
Hey, Chase, I will say this: like, you know, your era of when the guys you just mentioned yourself, and then through our era, and Brian McGrattan, a guy I love, but they got so big and so tough that I was almost to the point where it was like, you guys are a separate thing from the game right now. Like when you played, it was you want to fuck around. Let's
you
chuck
guys
them.
are fucking WWF wrestlers.
Yeah, like now these guys were getting so big and so strong, and now we know how the game is. But when you guys played, it was like we play hard, we can play, and we chuck them. It wasn't like a show. It wasn't a show. It was about protecting your guys.
You know what drives me nuts is watching guys pat each other on the back and shit after a fight.
Yeah,
I hate that. People come to me and say, "Did you see so-and-so punch that guy when he was laying on the ice? You'd never do that." I'm like, fucking right I do that. I want to give a guy a reminder. Oh, honest to God, like, what's the sense of fighting him? And you go, "Oh, that was great." And the next time he comes back, he goes, "Oh, we're gonna have, like, you know, it's not like I'm gonna take off my white glove and slap you across the face, and you slap me across the face, and then we're gonna have a duel."
Yeah,
you know. What do they call it? Marcus of Queensberry or Kingsbury or whatever the fuck. None of that shit. I mean, you fight. If you get a guy down and you give him another one, that's a reminder. Don't come back and don't do the shit you're doing.
Don't fuck around.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure there's guys that did it to me when I was down there. Like, this little asshole, you know, like, and they used to call it the race for Chase. Right? It was Twister and I, and if they had a choice, they were fighting me. Right? They used to say, "Oh, we got the race for Chase tonight." I'm like, they come on to warm up, and there'd be somebody yapping here. I'm like, "Oh, I got it. You don't want the big guy, you know?" And Twister would chuckle about it all. So we're actually doing a feature here this Sunday. It's the first time him and I have done something together in a long time, and I love the man. Like, I mean, we're friends and close, but I guess we did an autograph session. But it's funny how the city of St. Louis takes to two guys that played the way we played, treat us so well, and we weren't very good.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too.
But they just love us there. Like, we're so we're so fortunate. Like, seriously, like.
But you guys both have done a lot for the community too.
Yeah,
it's not just the way you played. Now you've integrated your families into the community, and you've done such a great job with that.
Let me tag this question real quick as a guy who didn't play there. And I know how much he loves it, Factor.
Yeah.
And we just had Wald on. What is it about St. Louis that makes you guys want to go back there and stay there? And what is it, Chaser?
It's a lot of intangibles. It's a lot of people taking care of you. You know how they say there's 7 degrees of separation in life? There's one in St. Louis. Everyone's got a guy. Need a plumber? I got a guy. You know what I mean? You need a fridge? I got a guy. You know, this guy's got a guy. Everyone's got a guy.
Hey, you're looking across at the guy in warm-ups like, you got a guy?
You got a guy?
Yeah. And then, you know, like, we work with the police and fire department. So they're constantly checking on your families when you're out of town and making sure everything's good. They treat you with, you know, we treat them with a tremendous amount of respect, which in a lot of cities they don't anymore. You know, you used to be shit scared of the police, your school teachers, and then your parents. And if the first two got a hold of your parents before you told them what happened, you're going to get an awful shit kicking when you got home, right? So that whole I survived the wooden spoon era.
Yeah.
And the belt.
Mini hockey stick my dad
The
used to
mini
get me
hockey
with.
stick.
That one stung.
The extra cord on the phone. I got that a couple
swatter.
times.
I got fly swatter every odd time.
Yeah. And you know what?
It
turned out okay, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, you know, I think that's one of the reasons St. Louis treats us so damn well. The second reason is when you leave the game, you don't miss the game. You miss the guys.
Totally.
Okay? We have an alumni locker room there.
I miss the road.
Yeah.
That's why we're on this fella tour right now.
Well, here's the thing.
You're right, though, Chase. You miss the guys the most.
But here's the thing. In St. Louis, we have an alumni locker room. Have you been to the new one?
I have not been in their new practice
Okay,
rink yet.
so we've always had an alumni locker room.
Yeah.
But this thing is, I never dressed in a locker room this nice. I'm not kidding you. It's beautiful. It's got 40 stalls, oval shape.
Nice tub.
Guys, unreal hot tub, steam room, sauna, lounge just like this bar we're sitting in. Our bar is every bit as big as that bar right there. 100%.
Where do I sign up? I want to play for the Blues. Where do I sign up?
Comes in, stocks our fridges. We've got a cooking area and so, you know, guys can do business out of there. They can bring clients in, say, matted with pictures, thousands of old history pictures. The first bench that ever was in the old arena in '67 that the guys sat on is in there.
Old jock straps, fucking.
Well, no jock straps. But I mean, Bobby Plager and Jimmy Roberts, when we opened it, was nothing to come in the morning and they'd be smoking cigars, having a coffee in the hot tub. Because they just want to get out of the house. They want to have a purpose. And they could come there.
Purpose is a great word.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest thing when we retire is a purpose.
That transition is hard for guys because just think about it. Like, I could look at a schedule in July, and I could tell you where I was going to be having dinner in February.
Totally.
Okay,
or for other guys, who you'd be mounting.
Carmine's,
Gibson's.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
Gibson's. Yeah, we'll be at Gibson's that night for steak, or wherever we were, I knew in Calgary I was going to the Vintage Steakhouse for steak. I didn't care. I didn't give a shit if I was by myself at the bar. That's where I was going. Anybody, you want to go? And they go, I know where you're going.
I like that, Chase. I respect that. Boys, I'll be there if you want to join me. I'll be there.
Yeah. This is how it's going to work tonight. And so it was great. And I think in St. Louis, you have all of that. You've got this synergy. We have 52 guys and their support staff.
Yeah.
So just think about this now. Now when we do our Christmas party, I'd say half the people are there. We have 2 full benches of probably 4 layers of people, from players and their wives or maybe widows down to great grandkids now.
Yeah, it's
great grandkids.
Man. It's so cool.
So you're on the bench and there's 500. There could be 1,000 in the community. Because of the 50-some guys and their families. The Plagers are everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
The Rammers, all his kids have at least 3 kids. So Rob and Don.
I played their son, I think, right? Their son was a D-man? Yeah.
John,
Yeah, I played with him.
Yeah, and just so you see this, the arms of the family tree.
The community,
the community. And they're in everything. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Chase, I want to stick with alumni, like the NHL alumni. Glenn Heels is doing a good thing here. I know that's important to you, too. We've had Heels on the pod and as ex-guys. I think it's starting to get some traction, right? The NHL alumni is starting to be a lot better for us.
Heels has done an unbelievable job for us. I know I was the vice chairman a couple of years, and I'm the chairman of it now, and just going through the landscape of what we've built in 5 years is unbelievable. We went, because we have 30-some players that are left that are still alive from the original 6, and that's it. We lost a great one the other day in Bobby Hall.
Yeah,
we did. We sure did.
So when you start to look at honoring the past, what does that mean to you? Well, we never would have made the money we made, and the guys today wouldn't make the money they're making if it wasn't for Bobby Hall.
Yeah.
Bobby Hall.
WHA, right?
That went to the WHA and signed $1 million bonus, and that's how everybody started getting paid.
Yeah.
It took them all out of collusion. When he jumped, all of a sudden everybody was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if kids now know what he did for them.
That's a great point by you, by the way.
I don't know. I don't know if they know what Ted Lindsay stood for when he got a union, and then Bobby Hall ended up doing, and then Brett Hall got the next largest contract. And when we were playing, he scored 72 goals. He wanted $300,000 a year from the Blues, and they said, we can't pay you that. Paul McLean's played 10 years, and you and him are right around the same amount of goals. I think Holly had 42 and Mac had 32. And we can't pay you more than we paid him. He's been in the league 10 years. And at Christmas time when he had to sit 32 goals, they're like, okay, we'll give you the 300. And Bob Goodenow was doing his contract. He said, no, now it's 5. And then they said, and then they came back to him after he had 50 and 50, and they said, okay, he goes, now 5's changed. We're going to wait till the end of the year. And Chicago was going to sign him. And Holly ended up getting $1.2 million. He got a couple of golf memberships with it in St. Louis.
A free beers.
Car. Beer's always free in St. Louis.
Corvette,
Bush is there, buddy. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, and then Gretz had to be the highest paid player. And Mario had to be the same as him.
Yeah.
And everyone says, well, Lindros changed the game. Bullshit. It was Brett Hull that changed the game. Brett Hull said, I'm not going to play. And they knew Chicago was going to sign him. And you can lose all the games all year. You can't lose to Chicago and St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit if it's the Cubs, the Cards, or it's the Blues. You do not lose to the Hawks. And they weren't going to lose Brett Hull to the Hawks, and that's why he got the one he got.
Yeah, honoring the past is such a good word, Chaser. Steiner does it always, and I think it's because of you guys ingrained that in him. But kids need to know these monumental things that have happened in our game with guys who risk it all. Who've risked it all to change the way, you had
the Kachuk boys, you had Clayton Keller, you got that pack of kids Brown he had was, Logan Brown and Trent Frederick. And
I love Trent Frederick's game. I love his game.
So all of these kids, right, that played together, Brady Matthew, Cunnan, Luke Martin was there, Ty Farmer, all these kids that were just on that group that were unbelievable, okay? But the funny thing about it is, we had an alumni meeting, and I told Steiner about it, and he called Stas, and the next thing you know, Stas, Jan, and Paul are at the alumni meeting, and Steiner's at the alumni meeting, and Philip McRae's in the alumni meeting, and all these guys, and their fathers had played, so they knew to be there, because the Kachuks and so they come to the meeting, and they start hearing these stories, and they're looking at you like, what'd you say? Yeah, this guy, he never got a pension.
Crazy.
Oh, and this Johnny Bauer passes away, and he's in a hospital with other people in his room.
Yeah.
Other people that are sick. How the fuck does that happen? How do we allow that to happen?
Totally.
Right? So how do we fix it? And the other thing is, I think anybody that's, like you said, sense of purpose, and the hardest thing for you is the transition. If you don't change that culture and make guys understand from a mental wellness standpoint, you're going to have continual problems with guys in the league. And I don't give a shit if you have $70 million or $72.
Yeah.
Because we can tell you the structure. We've always had structure since we were 13 or 14. And when it's taken away, you don't have a sense of purpose anymore. It's hard to, how do I find something else? So what we're trying to do now is make sure we have the opportunity to have doctors and mental wellness for people. So that if they want to call the alumni and they say, hey, we're having a problem, or our kid's having a problem, you're part of the alumni family, so we're going to fix it.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what we've got going now.
Hey, you mentioned Bob Goodenow. I heard his name come up a couple times this weekend here at All-Star Weekend. And obviously there's some changes going on with the union, but maybe just talk about your experience through it with Bob, and because from what I heard, pretty well-liked guy, right, back in the day? Or
yeah, Bob was a tough customer. Yeah. He took on Gary. He made a lot of great changes, and I think when Bob left, there was some bitterness maybe with him, but I love the guy.
Yeah,
and I also think change is always good too. Yeah. Because they made some mistakes.
NHL needs to know that. Change is good.
Yeah, they made some mistakes, Yeah. Players Association right now needed new leadership. And in my opinion, it was time. Yeah. They're doing what they should do.
A 10-year run is a 10-year run. 30 years.
I don't think I can tell you they've done some good things in the last couple collective bargaining agreements, and they made some huge mistakes. Fucking huge mistakes.
Yeah. What about Gary? What do you think? We're talking. He's been here for 30 years. Is it time for maybe a new young commissioner coming in your opinion, or is that something you don't really concern with?
I don't really think about it. I know. Yeah. Let me just say this to you from an alumni association standpoint. From sitting in the chairman's chair.
Yeah.
I don't think there's never been a time where Bill Daly's just said no. So him and Gary. It's like driving down an old dirt road back home. You already know where the fucking trees land, and you know where the pothole is. And so these guys, shit doesn't surprise them, okay?
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it too, they come to us and we say we have a problem. They're the first to recognize that the alumni are important.
That's
and
good.
so
That's good.
we're trying to get our foot in. I think Brad Marsh said we need to put our toe in the water with the current players. Because when you're playing, you just fucking play. You don't think about all the things that go. You don't. I collect the bargaining agreement. Okay, let's just get going here. I'm a hockey player. I want to play hockey. That's what you concern yourself with, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But when you realize that, the average career is 2.5 years from when you sign, and shit's over pretty quick, and there's a transition, and you're going to have some bad thoughts from a mental wellness standpoint because everybody goes through some kind of period of that. How do you stabilize that? And when they're paying attention and see some of these guys, and in St. Louis, this is how it worked. Rick Wilson's 50 years old, dies of a heart attack, no insurance. Todd Ewan takes his own life. Todd had some mental health issues, obviously, and some concussions, but also he had diabetes, and his health insurance wasn't great because of the medication as well. So, and then Mark Reeds dies of cancer, and the St. Louis Blues alumni have to pay to have the body flown back because the genius that owned Ottawa didn't take care of him, right? So at the end of the day, they march him in for every playoff game and have him do the big speech. But as soon as you're gone, you're forgotten.
Yeah.
So in St. Louis, a group of kids are sitting there while we're talking about it, real life shit that happened, and they're like, wow, this is going on. This could be my dad.
Of course.
Yeah. You think Alex Steen doesn't think about this could be my dad?
He does. He takes it to heart.
Or the Stastny boys don't take it for heart from where their father came from?
Yeah.
Sneak it out of Slovakia in the middle of the night with people trying to hunt them down? Fuck, they think about it, and they're smart guys.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Chase, we're talking about transition a lot. Like, you did a hell of a job when you stopped playing, right? When you did the discoveries. Like, how did you do? Were you working on that as your career was coming to an end? Like, was that something you were focused on? I know this is coming to an end. Or how did that work out? Because you've done well for yourself after hockey.
You know what? They didn't want me to play anymore. And
I know the feeling.
Yeah, and I had opportunities to play, and I didn't want to leave St. Louis. So Nancy Laurie got with Jim Woodcock and Mark Sauer, who was the president, and said I wouldn't meddle in the hockey, but I'm going to tell you what's going to go on here from a business standpoint. And they gave me a job with the team in broadcasting, and then they helped me get the job on ESPN right out of the game. So it was easier transition for me because I left the game, but I was still on the team charters. I was still, I had the same schedule. I just wasn't playing. I was doing the broadcasts. Yeah. I was working in the community.
Team tape, by the way.
It's even better, Chase.
Wait a second. You're going to pay me the same amount of money,
go fight that guy.
and I don't have to fight. Where do I sign up for that? No. And there was a time in the summer where I regretted saying that I would do it. And Jim Woodcock was the vice president, and he took me in and just said, hey, you're getting an unbelievable opportunity. I called my agent. I said, listen, and he goes, man, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So I called them back and asked them and said, listen, there's a huge gap. What am I going to make? I think Paul Holmgren had offered me a 2-year deal at $650, and I said, where am I going to make, $1.3 million? And Mrs. Laurie called and said, if you are patient, you are going to be just fine. We'll help you get some other stuff. Radio station hired me. So I was doing some radio, then I was doing TV and radio for the Blues, and then I was doing some ESPN stuff. So what happened was, my buddy Jerry Johansson.
Jerry's
probably got 9 guys. Probably got 9 guys in the All-Star game.
I know he
and
does.
He's down here. You know what kind of guy he is? He's watching Barrett Jackman's kid play on the weekend too.
I know he had a tournament up here.
Look at that hair. It still looks good.
Jerry when I was 16.
He's the best. He's the best. So
still handsome as ever.
Yeah.
Look, if only we had hair like that.
I know, my career would have been different. My career would have been different.
So do I.
So I will tell you this. I tell Colby Armstrong this when he was coming out of the game. Just hit singles. Just keep hitting singles.
That's great.
Take a little gig here and a little gig here. And pretty soon you're the guy that got the gig and they need you when it's important. We could call him. Now we bring in the utility guy. Now you're doing the second round. Now you're doing the All-Star game. Now you're doing this. Hit singles advice. And they add up to a lot of runs.
When I started doing this, Chaser, it was tough for me. The Up-Dog was still playing, so then Loops was doing his thing. So my 2 best boys were around. I was fucking 15-minute radio gig on a Wednesday, 15 minutes. But like you said,
say yes to this, say yes to that, say yes to that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, build up a little portfolio, and you just get more reps and you get after it. And that's why I told the Updog, we just got to keep doing this thing.
If only we can get on that charter, though, eh?
Oh, fuck, I love walking on that charter ride.
By the way, him and Sudafed, which is now the best nickname I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
They had their spot
Sudafed
right in front of the card table. They had their little vodkas. As soon as they come on, the vodka Perriers. You might have got that from Gratz.
I got to tell you, we had the greatest flight staff. They were awesome to us, and they were so.
Kimmy's great.
The whole group of them, right? And so we would get on the plane, and they had our seats, Spangers and mine, covered with a blanket. They had pillows, the big pillows.
With their initials on them.
Couple of vodkas, their initials on the pillows. Couple of vodkas set up. A bottle of Grey Goose, and two. One thing of lemon, one thing of lime, because I had lemons, Panger had lime, and then and they had the soda water. And so, management never got to see it because they didn't come back that far, but we were right between the players. And I remember guys getting on a plane going, what the fuck? I go, try tipping them once.
They got the chicken wings already laid out.
We ate first. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. So at Christmas time, we'd go to Lululemon. We'd, grab a couple $100 worth of gift certificates for each one of them.
Smart.
Take them out to dinner, have a party, give everybody, and one of the guys that was one of the flight crew on the thing, he goes, we were getting some grief earlier from the guys. And he goes, and I said, he made a comment like, these guys take care of us. And it was right at Christmas time or whatever. So I thought about that for a second. I got on the plane. I said to Steiner, how much you guys tip these guys at Christmas time? He goes, shit. He was the most generous, giving guy there was on our team. He goes, I don't know. I never really thought about it. I said, well, why don't you go tell the guys they each owe $20.
Pass the hat.
Whatever.
Pass the hat.
Yeah. So I don't know what he.
No, they got a nice little Christmas bonus.
There.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All of a sudden, everybody had to put in 100 or something, right? So there was one guy and the three girls, and they were just crying. We're not, and I was howling. I go, holy shit, boys! Don't be afraid to throw it around a little bit. You might get a chicken wing.
All of a sudden, there's now 2 full bottles of Grey Goose on the next flight.
They were great.
Chaser, I want to ask you about Ryan O'Reilly, a kid that made an impact on me. He was 21 years old. I was in my 6th year. Knew something special about him. We all know what's happened there, but just the impact he's had in that city, the leader, and what you think of Fact Daddy.
Well, I love him. I mean, like, his work ethic is second to none, and he's got such a sense of pride, but like internal fire that.
Does he remind you anyone, Chaser, with your thought here? Does he remind you anyone you played with maybe back in the day? Like, he's got that old school to him, right?
He's got the old school, but I think from the on ice perspective, he reminds me a lot of McInnes, the way his. Steen was like that too. He reminded me that those two guys are a lot alike. They care about the teammates. They understand this guy's wife is having trouble with a birth or like shit that's not public.
It's crazy how Steiner had so much on his plate that he organized all the time. It was wild.
He would call me in the middle of the night. Yeah. Actually, he called me in the middle of the night one time. He goes, I got a problem. I go, what? He goes, well, there's a girl trying to get in one of the guy's windows right now, and he's pretending he's not home.
Oh, and they don't want to call
him.
I'm sure, that's for sure.
She was trying to get out. That banging you heard on the door, the girl at the door, she was trying to get out.
I'll be not let her leave.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. No, and so he calls me. He goes, I don't know. I don't want anyone to find out. We don't want to call the police, so I send a guy over and, he comes down or whatever, and he goes, man. And he starts telling me what was going on. He goes, this guy's wife's having labor problems. This guy's, I'm dealing with this at home with trying to help my dad with something.
We're trying to find Upshaw.
And he goes, and I got a chick crawling in a window in a guy's house, and he doesn't want to call the police. And I'm like, why don't you just call the police? He goes, because I don't want to sell a kid out, but I think her father was in Quincy there, or not? Is it Quincy? Where's the Marion?
In the golf club.
Yeah, in the golf club. All right. It was a major security prison, max security, and he didn't want to call the cops on the guy. He thought fucking the next call will be to someone else, right? And so I'm like, yeah. So I made a couple calls, and it was like, I I don't even know what the fuck my phone was doing on. It was like 2 a.m, or I was probably out. One of the two.
You're at Obi Clark's. Yeah,
sitting in my chair at Obi Clark's.
I've heard a lot about that place. How is that place? I heard a lot.
Yeah,
I gotta get to it. I gotta go there.
It's just a hang. It's just a great hang. Yeah, it's just a great hang. I was there. I was back in St. Louis doing something about. Well, they did the Hall of Fame thing, and Hully says to me, "Are we gonna go have a beer at Obi Clark's?" And I looked at him. He goes. And when Hully's the voice of reason, it's just scary. He goes, you know what? We're not going there because you don't know how to get out of there.
When Hully's the voice of reason.
Hully's the voice of reason, boys. I'm telling you.
He's a fucking beauty, isn't he?
He's the best. He's the best. I told this story on the air, and I gave the PG version a couple days ago. But one night after a game, he says to me, you want to go out and have a couple? I'll ride with you. You want to have a couple? No, he goes, you want to go out and have a couple? Yeah. He goes, okay, well, I'll meet up in the offices after game. He would sneak out this side door, and he sometimes would get his wife to park his Q45 off to the side of the building and out the door. So he goes, okay, let's meet up there. So I come up in the offices. He thinks I'm going to bring my car around to there. He goes, where's your keys? I go, I don't have a car. I came with Shanahan. He goes, I don't have a car. He goes, Jesus Christ. And I came with Shanahan. I don't got a car. Bye. So he goes in the office, comes out. I'm just sitting in this lobby area. Got a set of keys, walk out in the parking lot, staff parking, jump in Bob Barry's Jag. Away we go. Go downtown. Bars in St. Louis downtown, close it at 2. We're not done. So we go across the east side, and we're at Pop's. Okay, and now it's a 24-hour joint.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So some of the clubs and some of the, call them dancer clubs, get off at 4, his last shift, and everybody. So like you got guys in suits, and then you got the lowest form of life. Like everybody's conglomerated mixed bag at Pop's, right? He's the MVP of the league, so everyone knows who he is. You're just in there managing traffic and laughing and having fun. We go to leave. He tosses me the keys per usual, and I get outside and I walk over to the car, and I'm fiddle fucking around with the key, and I snap the key off in the door. It's just about daylight. I snap a key off, and I go, I broke the. Great job, Mitzi. He's just giving it to me. And he goes, well, we might as well go back. I go, we got to get a locksmith. So we call all these. Finally, Brett Hall needs a locksmith. We get a locksmith. Guy comes over, gets in the car, opens the door, pulls out the lock out of the door, has to take the quarter panel off, pulls the key out, makes a key. By then, Hully's holding court. He's got a couple cases of beer out in the parking lot. And he's got all of the guys that say Pops Security and neon green Pops jackets, right? They're everywhere. He's telling stories. Yeah. You got the strippers, the guys in suits. It's a complete gong show of people hanging on every word he's saying. And I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, all right, everyone, let's go have breakfast. We're in our suits, right? We go to Eat Right down by the stadium. It's a diner as big as where we're sitting here, okay? So the people are just coming in, and he says, put it on the tab. So pretty soon, these poor people are just going crazy cooking, breakfast or whatever. And we get in the car, and we drive to the rink. He has now invited the entire crew to practice, okay? I mean, he doesn't give a shit. He's scoring goals like it's easy. And all I want to do is get from the front door of the locker room to the back to get in my underwear. Okay?
Yeah.
Got the suit on.
Yeah.
Okay? I just need to get to the back.
That's why you get a good trainer.
Dude, he rolls in. Back then, there's one way. The trainers are in the back, dude. It's not like now. It's not 2 doors. There's no emergency exit in this whole place. Okay, Brentwood Ice Rink. So I go through the dressing room. I kind of by the door. No coaches see me. I'm peeling my shit off. Just get it off and get it on there. And he walks in, and he walks right in the coach's office and throws the keys. He never asked Bob Barry for the cars, fellas. He fucking stole the Jag. Bob Barry's reported the Jag stolen, okay? They got the Jag. It's stolen, and they got an APB out on the Jag, and he's yelling and screaming. And I think it just dawns on him at one point where he's screaming, and he fucking jumps up, and he runs into where I'm changing, and he looks and goes, you! you're not fucking good enough to be hanging around with him. I will send you to the minors. And he's yelling at me. Holly goes, quit yelling at him. And he's yelling at me. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm nervous about it, right? So I just I don't say a word to Bob Barry. He's pissed. I kid you not, fellas. I went out on the ice and every security with a neon fucking jacket, every stripper, every degenerate gambler from the east side is on the fucking glass, pounding on the glass when I come out, and they can go 3/4 the way around the fucking practice rink, and I'm going, holy shit. Like I did every drill at practice from the same corner where the Zamboni was, where they couldn't bang on the glass. I was like, what the it was unbelievable. And he couldn't give a shit. He goes, don't worry about it. You're my buddy. They're not doing anything to you.
that is all legendary.
Time.
Oh, that was great,
Chaser. I could do this all day with you, buddy. Yeah.
I got one. I got to tell you about how great Red Hall was to me, okay? Yeah. And this is a true story. We had a little incident in Detroit, and he was bitching about ice time. So they said, well, we'll fix him. His best friend is Chase. We'll put him in the 2 spot. We'll play start Shanahan's line on the right wing. We'll put Hully's lines next. Richie Sutter, Bobby Basson, and Dave Lowry, the Green Berets, they're going to be third. And then in the 4 spot, they got Nellie Emerson playing center. So they're like, fuck Chase. We'll put Hully back on the ice. We'll double shift him the entire game. We won't play Chase or let him bitch then. That's what they do. So, end of the game, like 20 seconds left in the game. They've scored their second empty netter. We're out. And he goes, Chase are going out there. And they got Probert, Crowder, and Primo.
Oh. The coach says you go out there.
Bob Barry says, get out there. And I said, come on, Bob. I mean, I haven't moved in 2 hours, okay? And he goes, I go, come on, don't embarrass me. And he goes, and it wasn't like I think I fought Bob 9 times. It wasn't like, hey, I don't want to fucking fight with him. It was embarrassing that like to both me, the team, everyone, to the game. And what Bob said he was trying to do was get me my game played, because if you didn't get on the ice, you didn't get credit for a game. So he was trying to get me my game played. So that was the story. So I said, no, I'm not going out there. And he goes, what'd you say? And he's yelling at me, and I said, you go out there. I watched you play when I grew up. You wouldn't go out there. So I went in the locker room. He came fucking down the hallway out in the game. Well, Shanahan fought with Probert. Or Quintel fought with Probert. Shanahan fought with Primo or Crowder. It doesn't matter. And I felt awful because I wasn't out there. Then they come in the room. So the game's taking longer. I'm half undressed. I got one skate on. Bob Barry comes right off the bench, flying in the old Joe Louis right by the door there, and he's screaming. And I'm so angry but so emotional, I throw my skate at him. He does a U-turn, and I go after him. Wow. And Shanny grabs me and basically tackles me. So the next day...
You're a skate at a guy.
Well, the coach. An assistant GM. By the coach. And I didn't have that. Like I didn't talk back to the coaches. I never said shit. If they yell at me, I was like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm in the NHL. Yeah. So, anyways, I know I'm in deep shit, right? It's a trade deadline. We have a day off, the trade deadline, and it's beautiful in St. Louis. So we're gonna go to Algonquin golfing. Holly's like, come on, we're gonna go golfing. I go, I think I better hang on. I just stop whining. You're not getting fucking traded. Come on. And I'm like. So we go play at the turn. Mr. Chase, you need to call Susie Matthew at the Blues office. I call Suze. Suze, what's up? She goes, you got to come down to the office. I go, did I get traded? She goes, you got to come to the office. I said, Suze, just tell me, did I get traded? She goes, yeah. I said, where did I get traded to? She goes, Montreal. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go out in the cart, and I go, I just got traded to Montreal. Bullshit. No, I did. He goes, get in the cart. They're not trading you. And I go, Hully, they traded me to Montreal. Fucking... I got to go down to the office. He goes, you don't need to go in. They're not trading you. And I go, all right. I said, I'm going down to the office. I'll come back or I'll send somebody to pick you up in my car. So I drive down to the office, and I walk in, and Ron Caron with that big, heavy French accent says, you're lucky because I just talked to your guy. And he told me that if you go to Montreal, he's going with you, and we can't have that. So he goes, fucking Holly. He goes, he goes, you can't throw your fucking skate at the coaches. I don't know what you're doing. You're lucky because Serge Savard is my friend and I rescind the trade. But you're lucky and your buddy saved you. And you're lucky because we can't have him going with you. And so I can't believe what's just happening here. I get in my car, I drive back to Algonquin, and he goes, I told you.
That is legendary.
That's the best.
Awesome.
That's how I was treated by Holly. So he appreciated Twister and I. He always gave us credit for shit. And I said to him one time when he won the car at the All-Star game, I said, Gretzky gives his car to Semenko when he wins. He said, Gretzky won 9 of them. You don't get my fucking car.
That's awesome.
Chaser, you're a beauty, buddy. Thank you so much for doing this,
boys,
buddy. You're a
thanks.
legend, man.
Yeah, I
I can
love
sit
you,
over
man.
there.
Thank you,
Thank you,
buddy.
buddy. Thank you.
All right.